Alright, good day, hi, and welcome. I don't know if you can see me at all. Probably not. Don't matter, it's going to be a talking video the whole way home anyway. And you can see my light on the ceiling. Alright, I didn't realize it, but tonight was Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, looked like we had, who the heck won there? Anyway, whoever won. The score was 4-1. Over Boston. Anyway, good for them. But there was a fair amount of people out there tonight. It was a fun night. The people that were out, I'm leaving a little bit early. Pretty much tied up in there anyway, but man, it's like that was a good night. That is a good night. Oh, there we go. Honking at people like, who the hell's this guy honking at us? Okay, so the mandolin, how did it do? Not too bad. It actually, that little instrument is actually, it was hard to get the mics in the right place. The lower mic didn't seem to want to pick up, but I think there was more than enough sound coming out of it that I was trying not to overpower it with the vocals, but it's really hard because what happens is like it's an unplugged instrument, so you know you get what you get. The mandolin is a thin sounding instrument when it's unplugged, right? But it cuts through. That's the thing. So I know it does that. So when you're picking it, it might not be as loud as you like, and they had a little bit of a time adjusting the sound, but not too bad. You know, like I mean, you're up and off in like 15 minutes. The thing stayed in okay too. It went out a little bit, but it was good till I got on the stage. So why did it go out a bit? Well, one thing, that's the first time I think well, no, it's not the first time I stood on that stage. But tonight, whatever it was, oh my God, it was roasting up there. It was so freaking warm. I don't know what was going on. I was like, I'm going to pass out. This is so hot. You know, like it was really, really warm. I was like, okay, maybe they got some new lights in there or something. I have no idea what happened. I was like, oh my God, like I'm like just dripping with sweat. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, you know, like I know, like I never sweat hardly at all when I'm on stage unless there's a really hot, but it was hot up there. It was like, it was almost breathing me. It was like, oh my God, this is really, 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 really warm. I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. So, I felt the pace. Holy potholes! I felt the pace was really good. I think all the notes were accounted for. I got to play an extra song, and I kind of didn't know. I kind of figured something like that was going to happen. I don't know why I didn't plan something else. What did I throw? So I threw out Copperhead Road. So that's the second time I played that one live. You know, the first time I did it on the guitar, this time I did it on the mandolin. And then I put in a little, I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, it was kind of like an In the Groove type of thing, I think it was called. It was a band called The Spades years ago that I used to watch. And I used to take their photos and everything like that. They used to play at the Heart and Crown all the time in Ottawa. And these guys were from Sudbury or someplace like that, or, you know, Southern Ontario anyway. Or, sorry, not Southern Ontario. Where the hell are they from? Sudbury's not southern, it's northern. But anyway, wherever they were from, they had this little dynamic thing between the guitar player, the drummer, and it was just a trio, right? Guitar, drums, and bass. And they used to do this really, it'd start off slow, and the only way I could describe it is, when you watch it on the video, I slopped it up a bit, because I had the wrong bit to get up to that kind of speed. But basically, if you could imagine Elmer Fudd chasing Bugs Bunny with a shotgun, while Yosemite Sam is shooting at the both of them, with Daffy Duck narrating it, okay, while Donald Duck is yelling out the window for them to keep it down, while Goofy's sitting on a bench laughing at it, and that would kind of describe the song. You know, and that's the best way I can put it. It's one of those songs. Where's the line in the road here? Oh, there we go. Good, I get to go. Don't have to wait at the light. So, long story short, it's a fun tune. It starts off pretty slow and it gets up to speed. I wasn't able to get the Bill Monroe speeds tonight. There were, what's the guy that, Marty Stewart? Is that the guy I'm thinking of? That guy's freaking, he's pretty up there. Very enjoyable guy to watch. But when you don't play the mandolin all the time, speed takes time to get that up. So I might have brought that out a little bit too early, but I looped it into Copperhead Road. I mean, it was like I was a wing it moment anyway. I'll still air it, but it was like it did get going pretty good. It's like, holy geez, that guy is like Phil Jenkins. He's turning 68 on Saturday or Sunday. Happy birthday to him. Anyway, he did a nice little cover of. I should have filmed it, but he did a nice little cover of "Comfortably Numb." It was different. He did it with the classical guitar there. He was singing too, but it's just a totally different rendition of it. Very nice. What he did, he goes, I'm almost 70, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with do a song from like each decade type of thing to warm up. So he started off in the 50s, and he worked his way up to whatever, and into the 2000s, right? And yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then it worked out. Jill and Rob were there, the one with the ukulele and the stand-up bass, and there's only basically the two of us tonight. Nobody else was going up tonight, but I guess because of Stanley Cup playoffs. But that said, there were still probably about 20, 25 people in the bar. Not complaining about that at all. So why did I leave early? I got a smile on my face. You know what I mean? I'm very content with what happened tonight. How did I think I sound with just the acoustic mandolin and just singing acoustic? I think I was able to rock it in there pretty good. I don't think I sang too flat. I won't know until I hear it, but if it sounded okay on stage, it probably sounded pretty good on the camera. But the first song I did was Trooper by Iron Maiden, and you'll see Claire coming into it, trying to get the mic in the right spot because they can't hear nothing. So I didn't really botch it or anything, but I didn't get to do it as clean as I would have liked to because it was a bit of a distraction on the stage. Whatever. But we got, the show goes on, and I just kept playing, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, it's just is what it is. So hopefully it still comes out pretty good. Like, maybe it wasn't quite as loud as it could be, but I think the camera will probably pick it up good anyway, because the camera's closer than what the audience is. But the clocks, I think that one went really good. Old Grove Medicine Show, Wagon Wheel, I think that one might have been, I think some people were kind of laughing at the chorus on that one, because they're like, oh, geez, that's kind of a bit of a raunchy song when you really think about what it's singing about, right? And basically, the song's about a whorehouse. That's basically what it's about, if you really think about it. It's a romantic song, but it's like, it's also, it's a fun song. I like it. It just sounds good, you know what I mean? It just sounds good, so a bit of a degenerate song, but it could be a love song. But if you really think about what they're singing, the guy's singing about, you could swing it that way, and I think that's what it was about. It's like, the Southern Belle, like it's like I'm going to see my Southern Belle, you know what I mean? Whatever. But that one, I think I sounded pretty good on that one. I threw a little widdly diddlies, and I try to throw like the canon theme just to keep the night, kind of nice and light on there. But clocks, I can't wait to see how that one came out. I hope it came out really epic. When I'm shredding at the end, it's like, I'm sweating all over the place. I'm like, man, I can't, I'm just hoping the pick doesn't fly out of my hand. Now, incidentally, the pick I was using, I've had this, it's one of those Dunlop Jazz Pro 2 picks, or Jazz 2, or whatever they are. Little red Speed Demon pick. Works great on the mandolin until you get up to, but you really got to hang on to it when you get up to speed, or you're going to throw the pick, right? But it's the only way you can really dig into the mandolin, right? And really pick it. It keeps it clean, but it's also, it makes it, it's a weird thing you have to do with the mandolin. You have to hang on the pick with a death grip, but a gentle death grip, or else you just stiffen up and you get sloppy and you lose all your lose all your speed, and that's what kind of happened to me on the last one. But I was just going for it anyway, so it didn't matter. But it started off really good. Yeah, there's some hooting and hollering. Had it been in my old electric mandolin, oh yeah, people would have gotten the drive out of the mandolin. But I was kind of surprised how well. It's strange. The lower mic didn't seem to want to pick up. Both are like SM58s or SM57s. I think they're SM57s. They're not what you would call a great mic. They're a workhorse mic. You can use them for recording. You can use a jack of all trades, omnidirectional mic. Omnidirectional mic. Pretty much what you would normally see at a jam night. They're the budget mics. But the lower one didn't seem to want to, even if we got the thing close to the F-hole, it just didn't want to seem to pick it up. However, the upper mic that I was singing through, when I got the mandolin close to that, it really picked that up. I don't know why that is. It was strange, but it blended better on the upper one. So I just started playing with the thing closer to my face, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was good, but the sound, it did sound pretty good. Now the problem is you move around, you move away from the mic, you lose the drive out of the mandolin. So they'll still hear the pitch, but they won't get the full. It's a mid. I guess technically you could call it a tenor instrument. So if it's a tenor instrument, what that means is that you don't have the low ends. What would have really been cool tonight is if Jill would have been I don't know her well enough, but that would have been really cool to have her, thumping away on the stand-up bass doing clocks. That would have been, or on any of them, on any of them. But if she would have sitting there just filling in the low end, and that would have been pretty awesome. And if we could have got Claire on the guitar and Rob on the ukulele, he was there with his ukulele again. I was talking to him for a bit. A nice guy, real nice guy. It's a great, they're a great duo. They capture the high range and the low range really well. It's funny. She's got this gigantic refrigerator size instrument, and he's only got this little tiny little ukulele, and everybody makes fun of him because the size matters and all that stuff, right? But it's a good time, it puts a smile on your face. It's so good. The biggest thing I was worried about tonight, and you're gonna laugh at this, how Canadian am I, was mosquitoes. I was just so terrified. That's why I kept my long sleeve shirt on. I was like, I don't want to be bitten by mosquitoes halfway through the song. But it was so hot up there, I think any mosquitoes would have died. They would have been incinerated. I couldn't believe how hot it was up there. I did see the owner. She didn't stop to talk or whatever. She said hi a little, but she was too busy, so I didn't re-inquire about a gig. I'll save that for another time, whatever. But everybody seemed to like the mandolin. It was something different for them. I'm going to have to get a pickup for that thing or whatever. I like doing that. It really is really cool to take different instruments. What I wasn't expecting tonight was to only have 2 people go up. Tonight was a Stanley Cup final, so I didn't know that, so not a big deal. I mean, there was still a good crowd there, but it would have been nice to have 60 or 80 people in there. Would have been really nice. I think that would have worked out really well, especially with the Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden, I don't know how well that went over with the people, but they were kind of blown away by it, a bit going, whoa, what is this? It's that's a pretty raunchy song, a death and destruction of the 1856 Crimean War, right? But everybody enjoyed it anyway. Clocks, I did get a few people ticking along and getting into it. I can't really say there was much of a sing-along. The thing is, you can't hear past the monitors, right? But it did sound like on the second song, there was people were singing the chorus a bit. It's hard to say. It might be only 1 or 2 people. Usually it's the other musicians that, tend to, they sing along. I was singing along to Comfortably Numb and stuff like that. But not so loud that, it's obnoxious, but just enough that gives a little extra ambience in the air, right? So there's always that. But, yeah, it was cool to play the mandolin on stage for the first time in 20 years or whatever it's been. I mean, it would probably be over 20 years Probably. But I can't remember when clocks came out. That would have been early 2000s, wouldn't it? And, oh, we got a motorbike. Rubber side down, buddy. Stay safe. But long story short, it's like the next time I play live with it, like I say, it's different when you have, you know, half an hour to make a sound check, or you got the whole night to yourself, whatever. You can really dial things in. Tonight I was just kind of expected to just kind of like balance my vocals with the mic, because I know my vocals were very loud. But, you know, but it didn't sound like I was overpowered. Well, I'll know tomorrow. From my ears, it sounded like I could hear the mandolin. So it didn't sound like I was overpowering the mandolin to the point where you couldn't hear nothing but my vocals. But maybe that happened. I don't know. It's hard to say with the audience. But it did sound like you could hear the mandolin driving to the back of the room a bit. So the good news about that is that means it probably blended out better than I thought. Now, when I started shredding on the end of clocks, there's a little thing, like, because you got to understand, that song was rearranged on a piano, right? So rearranging it for the mandolin, you're still in the same key, but you have to do a few things different. And the bridge piece I do slightly different just because it's easier to play. But the thing is that what ends up happening is that you get right near the end of it, and you know, you could just bring the mandolin. Oh my God, dude! Low beams, don't blind me, you meanie face. Hey, I'm courteous. You do the high beams, I do the low beams until you get further ahead. Now you're 30 feet behind. Sorry, road rage. But I'm in a good mood, so good mood, road rage. But I felt like I really pulled the clock one off pretty good. I did. Again, when you're up there, it's weird because, like, if you have one thing that's slightly out, you pick it up. And by the last song, yes, the mandolin was a little bit out, but I think that was just because of the heat. Like, the thing was in tune until I went on stage, and then, you know, it just seems like it went out, the heat, like, you know, like, I mean, it'd be different if the mandolin was on stage all night, and it would, you know, you'll stay in tune when it climatizes, but I think it was just because it was so hot. Like, I was like, you'll see in the video, like, I'm just sweating. I'm like, where did that come from, you know what I mean? But that's, yeah, I've had that happen before. And strange thing about lights, and this is a little tip, because I kind of forgot what happened, like, because I'm normally sitting when I'm on stage, so, like, I'm not up there where it's really warm all the time standing up. That's why I like to sit. You know, you're a little further from the lights, right? But I've stood on that stage before and it wasn't that hot, but right where I was standing, it just seems like I was getting nuked. I was getting, like, fricasseed. And when you get really hot lights on you, it has a weird effect on you. And just be aware of this. Number one, you're uncomfortable because it's like it's hot, right? It dries you out quickly, vocal-wise, so be careful on that one. Keep some water with you. And it wins you. Like, it really does. It wins you. It's a strange thing, like, because you're basically, your body's trying to reclimatize, right? So it wins you a bit. So when you're singing, you find yourself having to take a little more breath than what you would normally take, because it strangely enough, it wins you. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like getting punched to the gut or something, but it's something that you notice. So just pace yourself when you do that. Stay comfortable, whatever. And then, you know, once you're done the singing part, then you can just thrash on the instrument. You know what I mean? And just really, I was really wanting to make sure that the high register notes that I did to make it sound like the piano with the droning, with the G string just droning along. So I got it as close to the mic to get it as boomy and as much as possible. I heard a few hooting and hollering once I started doing when I go back into it the second time, because it picks up again, right? And it gives it that effect that it's like the song's like winding down, it's winding down, it's winding down, and then it just bashes back into like where the piano would normally be, and it sounds like a piano at that point with the droning, with the G string droning. It just sounds good, you know what I mean? It just sounds good. Now on an electric mandolin, electric acoustic or whatever, it will really punch through, and it gives people chills when they hear it. So I don't know if people got the chills tonight. I don't know if there was quite enough drive off of it to get it, but they might have, because I know I hear that people will tell me that it's like, oh, when you do that mandolin thing, it's so chimey and eerie that it actually gave me the chills. It was so good, you know, because it's a different instrument. It's not something that people are used to hearing, right? And it's a different note register, which makes it really, really fun. that's the great part, is it makes it really, really, really fun. And I felt really good about tonight, for sure, that it you know, like that it projected better than I think I thought it would. Like, I didn't know if it was going to be too thin sounding. I wasn't really worried about it, because tonight was just about, like any jazz night, it's about having fun. It's like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, you'll know for the next time. But what I really liked was, you know, the whole vibe of how clocks come out. Like, again, it's a weird song. Like, it's a good song. It's an okay song on the radio. It's kind of mellow, but it's a great song. It gets a bit euphoric if you can get it going really good on live, right? So, yeah, I can't wait to see the footage. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be fun. So that next time I go, I'm back to the guitar again. That stage, the other thing too, which was strange, is because that stage, the sound doesn't come back to you really good sometimes, right? And sometimes it's just hit and miss of who's on the PA. Tonight it was Claire and Phil, and they did a really good job mixing the mics tonight. Now, mind you, it was only for two people, but they did a good job there tonight, where, you know, they're getting to know how to set that PA pretty good. And, you know, you got to think about what they have to do, right? They have to go from miking a mandolin to miking a stand-up bass. Like, total different. I mean, you're twisting the knobs in a total different direction, you know, to be able to pull that off, right? And then, you know, you got an acoustic guitar, and even Claire's guitar, she got up and she filled in, she did some shredding tonight. It was pretty good blues stuff, but with the bass and the ukulele. And even her guitar was going out a bit tonight. Like her guitar, she usually, but she plays hard. But I think it was just the heat on the stage. It just, like, you know, like, that's the thing about acoustic instruments. They can be a little bit finicky until they warm up, right? Or acclimatize to the stage. So I got lucky with the mandolin tonight. Like, it did. If it's a little out, it's not too bad. The faster stuff you don't notice as much because it's fast. And, you know, if you're a little bit out, it doesn't matter. If you're way out, yeah. But a mandolin is very, very hard to, not so much tune, but to, you know, keep in tune whenever you get finickiness. But the thing I would say is that mandolin is probably going to hold up well live. I haven't done a review on it yet, but a great debut. This is the first time anybody in the public has seen this thing is on stage, which is nice. Which is kind of funny, because a lot of times what I do is I play an instrument for a long time to really get used to it. Now, mind you, I've had this thing since a little after Christmas. Might have been February. I forget when I bought it. And the idea was simple, that I took my Christmas money to buy it. You know what I mean? So I had some Christmas money, and then the little bit of work that I got throughout the winter. It's like I haven't treated myself in a while. And I was missing my mandolin. Like, here's what happened. My last mandolin, because it was a cheaper one, I said, well, I'm going to buy myself a nice F-hole mandolin, you know, with a pickup and everything like that. And I was like, okay, so I got to sell my other one to my sister. So I sold my other mandolin to my sister, and that's fine. You know, I don't want it back or anything like that. I sold her that with the idea that maybe within a month or two I was probably going to pick up another mandolin. Well, that was like 3 years or 4 years ago, whatever that was. So, you know, like the money didn't come in, and my philosophy now is never sell an instrument until you've replaced it with what you want, right? So I will have this mandolin until I replace it with something else. So why did I buy this mandolin over other mandolins that actually had pickups, that some of them were actually like $150 brand new? Well, I've already been down that road, and that $150 mandolin brand new with the pickup in it is a nice mandolin, but it plays, your fingers will be bleeding, whatever. This mandolin was used, it's a M20, Epiphone M20, and now they make the M30, same Epiphone mandolin, but this one was very well set up. It does need new strings on it, there's no doubt about that, but the strings are not dead yet. But you know, that's my next, you know, trip to the music stores to pick up some mandolin strings. But the thing about it is that the action on it is really nice. The frets ain't bad, but the action is really nice. And when you get a mandolin, and when you go shopping for a mandolin, a little tip for you: shop based on the playability, not the price. If you have to pay a little more, fine. If you have to buy a used one to get one that plays good, fine. Sound-wise, the really cheap ones, like this one, sounds pretty good. It's an A-style mandolin, so it's a little bit boomy, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Now, mind you, in comparison to my other one was super muddy and boomy. It still sounded good. Like, here's the kicker about a mandolin: there's no such thing as a bad sounding mandolin. You know, as long as it's in tune, it sounds good. You know, they're just one of those magic instruments that doesn't take much to make them sound good. But if the action is so stiff on them that it makes your fingers bleed, you end up, you know, it's not enjoyable and you won't play it much. Or you can't play it for long. And for this one, I could play this one all night if I wanted to. My picking hand's got to tighten up a bit. So with the mandolin, it's a good idea to rehearse what you're going to do very well, because it's not as forgiving as the guitar in some ways. It's as easy to play as a guitar when you're just doing chords, but when you're picking, everything's a little closer together. Everything's a little bit, the string tension's a little bit higher. You've got double strings, so every note's double. You know, it is that. So you got to be a little bit cleaner with your playing. But it doesn't mean you can't really rock the thing. I mean, a mandolin is a fantastic solo instrument as well as a background instrument. It is a very versatile little instrument. I could buy a used pickup for it, but for the price of a good used pickup, well, now I'm talking about a mandolin that's going to be in the $500 range, which I'd rather just save up $500 and buy myself an A-style mandolin. Now, what's the difference between an F-style mandolin and an A-style mandolin? Well, here's a little lesson for you. If you are going to be predominantly playing chords, you have 4 choices. Your best choice is an A-style mandolin with the big hole. It will give you the most deepest sound, it will give you the most even tone, and it will give you the most nice sustain and really good projection. However, the strings will blend, so it might not be quite as clear for picking, but it'll be great for chords. It'll be very full sounding. If you want to split the difference, go with another A-style mandolin like I've got with the F-holes, which punches out a little bit more mid-range, which allows you to kind of get best of both worlds, where you have nice, smooth chords that ring well and are smooth together, and it will, but yet it's out front enough that it's clear when you pick, so it's good that way. Now, if you're solely going to be a picker, you go with the F-hole or the F-style mandolin with the F-holes, and that thing is going to be the most mid-ranged and the most clearest note for note, but not quite as nice for chords. It will play chords nice, but the chords are not going to be as warm sounding as the A style, right? If you want to split the difference, F style mandolin with the big hole, it'll sound better on the chords. It will still pick you'll still pick the notes fairly well. It'll be similar to the A style mandolin with the round hole. So really, what you're talking about, if you're a mandolin enthusiast, you have to buy 4 mandolins if you want to cover it all. You know what I mean? Like, one too many, a million not enough. It's one of those scenarios, right? So really, if you're going to be playing specifically as a bluegrass mandolin picker, and go with the F style with the F holes. You know, like an F5 Gibson style mandolin, F style. If you're going to be the guy singing like REM, go with the A style with the hole in it. You know, you can still pick it. It's kind of like when you get like a jumbo J200 guitar versus a dreadnought versus what they call the California style or the CE guitar, like you know, a California style guitar, where like I use, which is a little more mid-ranged and kind of good for solos, good for chords. And then you've got like parlor guitars that are pretty much meant to be played note for note rather than chords. You know, those guitars tend to be good for blues. So there is a reason why there's different style of mandolins and different style guitars. A little bit too much to get into this video, but pretty much any mandolin's going to go off well on stage. Everybody loves the look of the F-style mandolins. The A-style mandolins tend to be a little more affordable on the buy-in range, but once you get into a good quality sounding and playing one, then at that point they're pretty much even. Like once you get into like the $500 to $800 range for mandolins, that's when they start getting interesting. But don't kid yourself. This mandolin was $200, and with tax and all, I think I walked out of there at $220 with a case, a few spare strings on it, a strap, with the action. I don't know if that was the stock Epiphone action or the previous owner had the action done on it, but whatever was done on this mandolin, I picked it up and I played it, and I'm like, this mandolin plays like a mandolin, much more expensive. Now, there was mandolins in there that sounded just a tad bit better. They were a little less boomy and a little less money, but they were like $1,000, right? But the playability was like that in that range. Like this mandolin, like you could play it all day. And the big one with the mandolin is get good tuners on them. If you can't get good tuners, again, you really want something that's going to hold tuning. Another tip with the mandolin, tune it before you leave home. Tune it to A440 if you're going to go to a jam night, because you will not be able to retune that thing in a noisy room, plugged in or unplugged. And the tuners, most guitar tuners, will not pick up they'll pick up the pitch, but not the octave. So you'll be trying to tune it with a guitar tuner, and it's like it will pick up the range of a guitar. So you'll get the pitch, but you won't get the octave, which you're in the second octave range. You're in a tenor instrument, right? Or alto instrument, tenor instrument. So that means you need a tuner that can basically tune a mandolin. If it doesn't say, what do you call it, for that range of a mandolin, don't buy that tuner, because you're never going to be able to tune your mandolin. You know what I mean? Like you'll be sitting there trying to tune it, not knowing what's happening. So I don't have a proper mandolin tuner. I have the blowpipe, which can tune the violin or the mandolin, which registers the pitch and the octave, right? So the cool thing about that is the pitch pipe is the $2 solution to tuning your mandolin. The downside is when you're in a noisy room, pitch pipes are pointless because you got noise in the background. One thing I think was going on tonight is I think the hockey game, you might be hearing the hockey game through the PA system while I was playing and singing. So hopefully, it sounded like they had the sound on. Hopefully that didn't happen, but I thought I could hear it. So if that kind of destroyed the performance tonight a bit, oh well, it happened. Nothing you do. Time to move on. Either way, it was a good. It did throw me off, but I thought I could hear something in the background. So I was like, oh, maybe they forgot to turn off the TV while the hockey game was playing. So I don't know. Because I thought I could hear it at one point. Whatever. That happens on jam nights too. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But a good night. So the only thing was, again, I wasn't able to talk to the owner tonight. She looked too busy, so I talked to her like for 2 seconds, but whatever. But so I didn't really try to, hey, what about getting a gig there, whatever. I don't push it too much. If it comes up again, I will bring it up. If not, like, I'm already looking at other places anyway. But the nice thing is when you're talking to musicians all the time, they can kind of say, hey, well, you should go and play over there. Go play at that place. Go play at that place. But like I say, you got to be persistent to a degree, but not a pest, right? And go with the opportunity. But the other thing, too, is I would love to play a full show there. There's no doubt about that. I don't know what I would make there, but if let's say it was $3 a cover tonight, if there was a cover charge, there was no cover charge, but let's say it was $3. Okay, well, there was 25 people in the bar, roughly. So I would have made anywhere from, 75, I would have made about $75 tonight, which is not great, but considering what it cost me to get there and, the lack of equipment I would have had to bring, you know what I mean? That would have been a good night. It'd be, I definitely paid for my gas there and back, and, anything I would, and plus you'd probably get a couple of complimentary drinks. I would only drink Pepsi or whatever, the Coca-Cola or whatever. I only bought 2 drinks tonight, so I think the whole night just cost me, the gas money getting there and back is the big expense. The rest was just basically, how much did I spend tonight? I bought 2 drinks and I had a glass of water. The bartender was joking for me because last week she was trying to tell me all the healthy choices. She goes, water's a healthy choice too. She slapped me on the shoulders like, oh yeah, I remember last week, yeah. But I tried, because I usually have like 2 Cokes and then, so that's like $6 or $7. But I always have a water because the Coke dries out your throat, right? It makes you all raspy and whatever, and you can't sing properly. So there's that, right? So anyway, when's the next time I'm going to bring up the mandolin? I don't know. I don't know what songs I do next because, I kind of pulled out the main songs. Like, I want to do Cowboys from Hell on it. I guess I let that out of the bag. The next time I play live, I want to do Cowboys from Hell on there. And I might pull out a Journey song, Separate Ways. I think that would go off fairly well. It really depends on the crowd you get in there, but everybody's so nice in there, you know what I mean? Like, it's a really nice atmosphere in there. There's no doubt about that. Very enjoyable. I really can't say anything bad about the place at all. Like, I mean, they treat their customers good. The bartender, she's always got a smile on her face. It's just, like they're, even the mosquitoes were happy tonight, you know what I mean? In the bar. She was going around, they put out like little candles, not quite citronella candles, but they're, hopefully to keep some of the flies away and whatever. But, like they dim the lights, you got candle lit on the tables. It's really, really nice, like it's just cozy. I'm always the riled up, loud guy in there. It's just the way it works, but I'm okay with that, you know what I mean? Tonight, though, I was hoping there would have been more people, but understanding that it was, Stanley Cup playoffs, Game 7, you know what I mean? It was it. So that just worked out how that worked out. Now, next week, I don't know what's, I think next week is the Raptors in Toronto. Will they take it? You know what I mean? That's basketball, but when you have that's the thing with that place, you never know who's coming out. Like last time I was there was 60 to 80 people in there. I mean, it was a good night. I was kind of hoping for that tonight, but you still got a good crowd. Whether you're playing for 3 people or 30 or 30,000, you put your heart and soul into it. That's and you enjoy it. But one thing I got to tell you guys though is like I say, I go on the stage, and I'm not being all preachy or anything like that, but I go on the stage bone sober, and I just take in the drug of playing live. And I got to tell you, you pick up on, your senses pick up on so much more, such as how freaking warm it was on that stage. And you also pick up on other things too, like, like the little sounds, the little nuances, the little whatever's going on, you know what I mean? And, with the mandolin, the songs I was playing tonight, I was trying to make as much eye contact with the audience as possible, right? But sometimes you can't, especially when you start shredding and stuff like that on it. It's like you got to pay attention to that instrument. It'll get away on you. It will get away on you. It's not frets, but it will get away on you. So Old Crow Medicine Show did really well. The clocks, looking around, there's a lot of smiles on faces and stuff. It's nice to be able to play some songs where you could look at the audience, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. A lot of the stuff I play, I can't. I'm too involved. And, you're trying to, really, really, keep the audience interested. You want to be engaged with the audience. That's why I like to talk to the audience slightly before I start a song. So you get a little bit of an engagement with them, right? And so that way, while you're doing your job on the stage, you could kind of sort of, they know they're there, and they appreciate that. One thing I got to say about my vocals tonight, holy head voice. Man, did that ever come out tonight? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you sing from your... What the hell was that? Well, it squished now, whatever it was. That was a big pothole. They got to fix that. But anyway, I'm really singing with my head voice tonight on the, particularly on the clocks, right? This has got to pass me at 145,000 gazillion miles per hour. Okay, fine. In a rush. I think there's a full moon today. Everybody's all crazy. I'm never in a rush. That's a nice way to be, No rush, no worry. I think there is a full moon today. But anyway, like I was saying, I was really singing with the head voice tonight. I know what the Iron Maiden, I had to back off the... I really had to back off the mic because it was picking me up pretty good, but... like somebody like, whoa, what's this guy singing about? It's like, I'm like, oh, and I kind of rehearse little things that I'm going to say to the audience sometimes too. That's fun to do. I try not to get too elaborate with it because you can never remember exactly. And I was going to introduce how, this was the mandolin. I haven't played mandolin on stage in like 20 years or whatever, and Phil did it for me. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, well my little 20-second or 30-second monologue before it gets rerouted, so I don't get too rigid on what I'm going to say to the audience or anything like that. But I usually kind of get I'd like to say something like along these lines to them. And one of the things I said is, listen to this chimey instrument. Ain't that beautiful? The mandolin's the most romantic instrument. Some of the most loveliest love songs ever written were on the mandolin. Now let's sing a song about the 1856 Crimean War. Iron Maiden, the Trooper. Right, here we go. I hope that one really came out. I really hope that the hockey game wasn't playing in the background to kind of destroy it a bit. But if it did, it did. I know it is what it is. So it's just it could ruin the performance a bit. But I'll still put it on the TV or on the YouTube anyway. Why? It is what it is, right? It just is what it is. So the next time I do those songs live, I may redo them again at a later date. But everything again, these songs, I've been playing them for a while now. Like I say, Clocks I learned it years ago. The what do you call it? The Trooper from Iron Maiden. I had to rearrange it a little bit because the song falls apart if you don't do the part. If you try to do it where it's supposed to be, oh, that's a deer. Oh, deer standing right in the ditch there, ready to jump out. I'm going to peel off some. This is like Pinball Alley when it comes to deer. Because they come out and they sleep on the road, because it's warmer. So, yeah, I got to take the speed down a bit here. Not worth dying. Nobody behind me anyway, so. But anyway, yeah, so it's like, what was I saying? The whole thing, yeah, you got to rearrange it a bit, but it did sound good. You know, like what was coming out did sound good. It just, did my vocals overpower it? I don't know. I hope not, but you know, again, then the next time I know. You know, it's like, that's the problem with an acoustic instrument, right? You're trying to get the volume out of the acoustic instrument, and your vocals will just overpower it. That's why I kept lowering the mic a bit, so that it picks up, you know, the mandolin a bit more than me, so I could sing over the mic. You know what I mean? So I'm not right into it, or else you never hear the mandolin, right? Yeah. So we'll see how it came out. I'm kind of hoping that it came out pretty good. And yeah, it was just a fun night. So the next time I play it live, I don't know when that's going to be, but I think what I could do is, when I get a gig, wherever I get it, I will probably bring the mandolin out and just be very mindful where the mandolin's positioned in relative to the microphone, so that you know, I don't overpower the unplugged instrument too much, right? And I don't know what other songs I would do on it. There's quite a few songs. I used to do the Tea Party songs, whatever. But I also, doing instrumentals on it is a lot of fun. There's quite a few instrumentals that you can do on it, right? And yeah, a lot of fun tonight. I'm just going to back my speed off of deer paranoid right now. I'm going to have to get one of those deer whistles on this thing. So, the next time I go, I would like to go next week if I can, but again, it'll depend on my finances. So this is the third time I'm on stage this year, and yet I've got to book a full 3-hour gig type of thing. I'm right at kind of like beginning of peak season in June. I would like to have at least a gig by August, a paying gig. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to, you know, see if I can, you know, talk to, you know, send out those emails again, or just see if they got the emails or whatever. I mean, you never know. Like, places, like I said, that allow people to play live, a lot of time what ends up happening is there's so many people that want to play there that you really, it's really hard to get your foot in the door. But once you get in there, like once you get to do a live show for the night, no problem. Now, the thing is that when you play a show and you have the whole night to yourself, you can take that night up, you can take it down, you can keep it at a level, whatever you want to do. And when you're at a jam night, you're kind of, not like I've talked about before, you're not really at the mercy of the people ahead of you. But if they're playing more quiet, it takes about 3 songs to get into an up mode or a down mode. You know what I mean? Like upper tempo or lower tempo. So what happens is that you got to sometimes just go for it and say, well, it might be a high-strung tempo. The locals get used to you doing that anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, well, this guy's always plays like really hyper stuff. He's good, but he's always like so loud and so hyper. Whatever, you know. That's fine, you know, because they get to expect it, right? And then some of the people do get kind of rowdy. So, you know, I had a bit of singing along and whatever, and little audience interaction with the whiskey stuff. I changed the lyrics on, you know, what you call it, I Canadianized, I guess you could say, the lyrics for Copperhead Road a bit. You know, I instead of the CIA, what do you call it? The FBI or CIA in the air, I got the RCMP. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I had to think about the lyrics. I hadn't played that song for a long time, but again, I've played it so many times that it's like it's just on the back shelf in there in my brain. It's like, okay, I'll sort of remember it. You know. Maybe I'll just stop in here. And yeah, but otherwise, a great night, nice atmosphere. I loved it. It was great. So when I bring the guitar back out, the guitar I use has a passive pickup in it, right? And it doesn't sound the greatest with the that Dean pickup, but it gets the job done. You know what I mean? It sounds good enough. Now, the nice thing about that is that you can plug it straight into the PA, right? And you don't have all these worries about acoustic instrument. But that said, you can do pretty darn good with, an acoustic instrument. I'll just turn that off for a minute. By itself, if you know where to place the mic. So if you only have one mic, you kind of split the difference. You sing over the mic a bit and move it towards the acoustic. And it'll pick it. You balance out the sound, and that's what I was trying to do with two mics tonight. And I don't know how well it did that. Again, I'll know once I hear it on the GoPro. But to me, it sounded pretty good. The only thing was the TV still going while I was playing. Hopefully not. I hope not, because that'll kind of trash the performance a little bit. You know, it'll be a distraction. But if it happened, it happened. So you'll see it obviously a little bit later down. I didn't film too many other people tonight. I did get Jill and Rob on the stand-up because they're so good. You know, like I like they're just really good to listen to, and whatever. I didn't get Phil, but I've got most of these people from last year anyway. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna just concentrate on myself a little bit more. I know the ego or whatever, but I guess like tonight. I don't know. I'm just content, really content. Like I'm not hyped. I'm content, and I'm content with the song that I wanted to do tonight. I really wanted to do Clocks, and I did it. And it was just I'm content because I got to play the mandolin on stage after such a long time, and my first kind of showing my mandolin to the world is on stage, and that's always good. But I need a bigger crowd. I definitely going to have to book a gig somewhere. And, these instruments, I'm going to have to get a few more songs in the repertoire for the mandolin. I've been mainly focusing on the guitar a lot, the acoustic guitar. And, obviously I want to do some stuff on the electric violin. I might go with the electric violin. I'll do the acoustic next and then go to the electric violin. Then maybe I'll think about something with the mandolin again, a few more down. But I really got to get a gig. Like it's. I love jam nights. Don't get me wrong, or open mics or whatever. But I really need that night to myself on stage. And yeah, I'll be bone sober on a 3-hour show. Yeah, sure. I have no problem with that. But it's just I really get so much out of it for myself. And when I look into the audience, and you start to see people like they're just smiling and grinning and. Just really enjoying the piece that you're playing. It's so content, it's so content. It's good. It's a good night, Yeah. What else can I say? I guess I'm just babbling on now, but good night. A lot of fun. Hopefully I have enough cash to do it again next week. But yeah, tomorrow I work Friday and Saturday a little bit, so that'll be a little bit extra cash. So even if I don't go next week, it'll be the week after, whatever. Whenever I usually it's a $40 night, roughly $30 to $40 night, $20 in gas, and then my 2 drinks or whatever. So I budget $40 for a night. That's my night out on the town, which I don't get to do every week. I wish I could. If I could afford it, I'd play almost every night of the week. You know, if it was just jam nights, if it was full 3-hour shows, one night a week is good. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be tired after the third set. Your vocals will get tired. You got to respect people that sing all the time. High energy stuff or whatever. I do tend to sing quite high energy. You know, I don't sing quiet. Like, everybody there seems to sing quieter than I do. Not super, super quiet. I mean, they can get pretty raunchy too. But they tend to really back down the vocals, throttle it back so that they're not straining or whatever. So if I had to do, like, say, 3 hours at a tempo of, like, the Iron Maiden songs, I'd be winded by the middle of the second set to the point where my voice would start going, right? Because you're just pushing, you know. And the thing is that I'm not what you call a vocalist by any stretch of the imagination, but my vocal training is basically just doing as much research as I can. And I bought a few, one was Fast Track Singer 1, Fast Track Singer 2, which was really good because it came with a CD and I was singing along with it. And it was all these vocal exercises and stuff like that, which I don't do all the vocal exercises I should do. But again, I'm not an opera singer either, so it doesn't really matter. I know what I can get away with. And those head voice mid-range tunes, you could pretty much sing them all day, but when you start singing a lot of head voice, it will wind your vocals after a while. If you sing the Nightwish singer, the older singer, Terja, whatever, who was an opera singer, I think she summed it up best. She goes, when she was in a metal band, she never expected to be in a metal band. And when she did, you know, she goes, like, when you're playing live, it's sometimes really difficult because you've got loud drums and guitars and keyboards and bass just blaring. And sometimes it's hard to hear and you have to force. And if you start to force too much, you start to do damage, right? So you always want to be singing from your belly, from your chest, or from your head noise, right? Another girl that I find really fascinating to watch, you know, just as a bit of an escape from the normal stuff I do on my other channel, is Rebecca the Vocal Athlete, who does reaction videos and stuff like that. And she talks about different, like you could be listening to either, Katy Perry or King Diamond. Like she did like King Diamond the other day and like talking about, well, he's doing this with his voice, this day, and like she just does like a bit of a play-by-play. She's done Iron Maiden. She's, like all these other songs and then all these pop songs or whatever. She's all over the place. You never know what they're going to sponsor on her channel. But she's very entertaining to watch because she gets so into it, right? And stuff like that. But you pick up a little bit of things too when people start, this is what they're doing with the vibratos. Notice how they're doing this. Notice how they're doing that. And you'll pick stuff up like that. It's always best to get somebody to teach you any instrument, and your voice is an instrument. The biggest thing that I had to learn years ago, and I didn't learn until I started doing more research on it, was not to force your vocals. For example, you get like Rob Halford. The guy can sing, he's got a 3-octave range, whatever, but he's had operations on his vocals because he's forced so much. Not on everything, but once you start getting what they call nodes on the flappy parts of your throat or whatever, drawing a blank right now. What happens is they build into basically like a callus, and then they have to cut that out. And if they, sometimes they can get rid of them if they're small enough, but if they get big enough, you could basically you'll ruin your singing career, let alone talking, right? Or your talking career, let alone singing. Guys like Jeff Tate from Queensryche, vocal coach. This guy can sing every night of the week after eating a big pizza. You know what I mean? He doesn't force, he doesn't strain, but yet he can hit all these ranges of notes. He warms up his voice properly. Bruce Dickinson, there's a vocal athlete right there. What an amazing man for a singer. And so high energy. That's the thing. Like, the guy's so freaking high energy. I've seen Iron Maiden live, and it's just like he gets winded when he sings, but like he's winded not because of his singing. He's winded because the guy's running around like a freaking madman like a chicken with his head cut off while he's singing. It's impressive, and he's hitting the notes. I mean, he might go flat once in a while, but again, considering that he's winded while he's singing, that's incredible. You know what I mean? Yeah, so my goal is to sing without forcing. And on these quieter jam night, open mic nights, you can get away with that as long as the mic is set up properly. But it really does depend whose fingers are on the PA sometimes. Although tonight it's like, oh my God, his fingers are going to catch on fire. That's what Phil was saying. He goes, yeah, your fingers must be bleeding now. I was like, yeah, your fingers are going to catch on fire doing what you're doing there. You know, like thrashing away on the on the mandolin. But it was a good show either way. It was fun. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so pick up as many tips as you can playing and singing. What I got on Fast Track Singer 1, Fast Track Singer 2, those things, is that I could listen to the CD and read along. It actually will, if you're just listening to the CD and listening to the notes, you'll start the sight read sheet music again. Well, or for the first time if it's your first time. But I was starting to sight read music. Now, I gave those 2 books to, I finished them a couple of years ago. And I could get more books and stuff like that. But I think I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, well, now it's just discovery. Okay, well, I get the idea. They tell you what to eat, what not to eat when you want to get a crystal clear voice, stuff like that. How to warm up your voice and stuff like that. Breathing techniques. They do all that stuff. I don't go that ridiculous with it, but but it will pay off if you do. Now, I gave those books to a girl who I've known since she was a teenager. She went to my brother's school or whatever. I used to call her Chorus Line all the time because she was always singing The Lion King, and she had the prettiest voice, right? And now she could play acoustic guitar and stuff like that. Like right now, her and her husband they have 2 children, so she doesn't get it, and she's very, very shy in front of people. But she was telling me, like, one night they went to Cuba, and somebody handed her a guitar, and they were in this dark, dark, dark bar, and she didn't know, and she just started playing and singing, and she just knocked it out, and all of a sudden all the lights come on. There's like 150 people in there, and she didn't know, and she was so embarrassed, but she was like, everybody's hooting and hollering for her, so whatever. And it's like, I know she has a good voice. So I'm like, here, and she was telling me about her vocal coach teacher, how like bizarre the vocal coach was and stuff like that. I guess I'm going a little over with the time here, but I love talking on these videos. I don't know who watches them. If you watch these videos, I really appreciate it, but it just, the idea is to inspire. But anyway, she was she was telling me about the bizarreness that her vocal coach was like teaching her. And like, if you want to meet weird human beings, vocal coaches, yeah, they all come off slightly insane. It's like, no, they're not crazy. They're just vocal teachers. They are kind of bizarre, but you can learn a lot. So I gave that to her, to help her out, and whatever. And it's like I hope she can make, because they help me, and whatever. And you will see this too. Like, learning by yourself is always hard, but if you can take lessons, take lessons. If you can't afford the lessons, buy books, or whatever. You can learn a lot off of YouTube and stuff like that, but you can really, when somebody just points you to the shortcuts of the fundamentals, and you get the fundamentals, everything builds off fundamentals, whether you're playing a stringed instrument, a wind instrument, or whatever. That lady Jill tonight, I was talking to her. She told me, like, before she bought the stand-up bass, she used to play the tuba. And she says, yeah, she goes, back when I was younger and in high school and stuff like that. I mean, she's up there. I don't know how old she is. She's definitely a boomer. Right? But she was telling me, like, yeah, she goes, I used to have the tuba, and she goes, you wouldn't believe how well that helped me out with track and field, because, you're always using so much lung capacity. And she goes, the second year when she didn't play the tuba, she goes, it made a difference in my athletic abilities because my lungs weren't as exercised, whatever. I said, that must also be good for your singing. And she goes, yeah. And this woman, like, resonate, like, she could sing opera. I would love to, if I could ever work it out with her, to do Phantom of the Opera with her. I know she can do it. Would she do it? I don't know. I don't know her that well, but if I could visualize somebody that I know in my head doing Phantom of the Opera, I don't care what instruments we're playing, I pick her. Like, she's got the voice, like when she does her, like, ooh, whatever, it just comes from the ground up. It's something, it moves, like, you can hear her no matter where you're standing in the room. She doesn't need to be mic'd. Like, it's very impressive. Again, she's not straining, she's not forcing, but you can tell that she's well vocal trained and stuff like that. But it's impressive when you know what you're listening to. That's when you get the great appreciation for whatever. But then you always have to bring your A game, and I'm still working on making a better show and stuff like that. Again, you really got to understand too that not everybody does the same thing on a jam night. Most people, what they do, and the reason why they sound good at what they do is they've played it at the jam night 80 times, right? And the set list they do, they've been doing the same set list for 20 years. So no matter where they play it, they play good. People who challenge themselves tend to do something a little different. Now, I'm not saying the other people aren't good or whatever. Don't take it that way at all. That's not. It's just they're so familiar with their songs that they can nail them very easily. Where what I try to do is bring in different songs every week. So far, there's only maybe 3 songs that I've done twice in that place. And tonight was just because I was like, okay, well, what did I have to do? Like I had a 4th tune, technically 5th if you add up the little instrumental. So I was like, oh, what am I going to throw in there? And I had to come up with something quick. And it was like, I was going to do the Bruce Springsteen song. And I thought, Dancing in the Dark. And I thought, well, I could get away with that one. But I was like, I haven't been playing it on the mandolin, but I've played Copperhead Road 800 gazillion times on the mandolin. And it was a little sloppy. Like I got to say, when you don't practice it the night you go up, I got to play my mandolin a little bit more, but it came out okay. And there was a bit of a sing-along, a lot of hooting and hollering, whatever. And I didn't drag it on the way I would normally drag it on had I practiced it once or twice. Then I would really do an epic version of it. But tonight it was just, okay, well, I'll throw it out there. And if it comes out, it comes out. And it's good. But the one I wish I didn't, I was trying to get that in the groove thing, whatever. I don't even know what I call it. I kind of stole it from another band, sort of, but you get the idea. And I was sloppy on that one, but I had the wrong pick in my hand. You need a little bit more of a relaxed pick in your hand to get that one. It's so fast. It goes so fast. Like you're in the 180, 190 range beats per minute, maybe 208 if you can really get it up. It's just so fast. You know what I mean? So it's like if you once I started losing it, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to, it's out, I'm starting to miss the strings and stuff like that, but I got it up to a pretty good speed. And then I just, okay, well, I'll slow it down and then I cut it back. You know what I mean? And that was enough. It was enough. But people are like, whoa, that guy's fingers, look at the fingers going, he's like, guy's hand's going to catch on fire. He's going to light the darn mandolin on fire playing so fast. But anyway, a great night. I enjoyed it no matter however it came out. I think everything came out well. The only thing that's going to spoil it is if you can hear the hockey game going on in the background. I think you can. It's like, oh, but again, I didn't hear it while I was setting up or whatever. So I don't know. So hopefully the camera doesn't pick up the hockey game and just the stage volume and it being down close to the monitor on the floor. Hopefully it just got that. But I don't know how it's going to come out. I really don't know how it's going to come out. But it did sound good. All 3 songs sounded good. Had it been a plugged-in mandolin, I think it would have really rocked the place pretty good. Again, it is what it is. I will do it again. I don't know what the next 3 songs I want to play on the mandolin. I do know one for sure is going to be Cowboys from Hell, just to get people, like, it's just because they don't expect it. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? These guys playing heavy metal on a mandolin? That's so crazy. And then, you can mellow it out on the next 2 songs or whatever. But I did have people ticking along with clocks, so that was good. And it was good. And I told them we could even keep their clothes on, too. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. So there you go. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and have yourselves a great night. Pick up an instrument, learn it, enjoy it, get it on stage, share it with the world, share it with people, enjoy the smiles in the audience. Yeah, there we go. Have yourselves a great night, eh?